Hello friends, welcome. I am here to give you an update on the debt markets for the month of April. The month of April was particularly dominated by essentially RBI's monetary policy, the follow-on minutes that were released in the third week of April, and the market reactions to that. Now, at the very beginning of the month, the RBI came with its policy, the first policy since February, where if you remember, the RBI had changed its stance from accommodative to neutral. The market was essentially looking for some kind of policy continuation, and that is what exactly the RBI delivered in terms of policy pronouncements. One thing though which the RBI did was they increased the reverse repo rate, which was at 575 to 6%, whereas the operative rate, which is the repo rate, the rate at which banks borrow from the RBI, that continued to remain at 6/4. Now, very initial reaction to that was some amount of questioning and thoughts in the market as to why the RBI did increase the rate from 575 to 6% as far as reverse repo is concerned. To our mind, the reasons were very clear. There is excess liquidity in the system. When we ended the March quarter, excess liquidity in the system was around 5.5 lakh crores, and the RBI wanted to keep the overnight rates in a range. This excess liquidity was sometimes forcing the overnight rates below, much below the repo rate of 6/4. In fact, treasury bill auctions that were conducted during January to March, because of excess liquidity, we saw 91-day T-bill cutoffs also coming below 6%. So, in a sense, what the RBI was trying to achieve by increasing the reverse repo rate was to maintain overnight rates, which is the daily borrowing and lending rates, in a narrower corridor of 6 to 6/4. This is very important and constructive from a market perspective, because your overnight rate is the starting point for the yield curve, and hence rather than looking at it in a negative construct of saying that the RBI increased the reverse repo rate, the right way of looking at it would be that the RBI actually narrowed the corridor to ensure that there is more stability in the overnight rates, and hence pricing of all instruments, whether it is CPs or bonds or government securities, can have a right starting point, which is the overnight rate. So that was the highlight of the RBI policy. Obviously, in line with their change in stance from accommodative to neutral, the RBI's commentary was more or less a continuation of their Fed policy. They recognized the fact that they still continue to look at inflation very closely. Therein, they have highlighted three things that they are looking very closely at. One was the cyclical upturn that we saw in commodity prices between September and March, where we did see sharp rises in some of the commodities, although oil, after having risen for some time, had already started falling towards the end of March. The second was the 7th pay commission, the impact of increase in house rent allowance as part of the 7th pay commission, and what impact will it have on consumer price inflation going forward. And the third was government's plan to roll out the GST. What kind of implications could GST have in terms of inflationary pressures, and all these three factors, to RBI's mind, were something that were to be very closely looked at, and in case they found any of these factors or a combination of these factors leading to much higher inflationary pressures than what we are seeing right now, they would need to have a relook at the policy pronouncements. So that was in a nutshell what the April monetary policy was all about. Reasonably positive or constructive view on growth, and continued policy of watching inflation very closely, which gels in line with their policy stance, which is neutral right now. The market had anticipated this, and as a result, post policy, there was hardly any change in yields as far as bond market yields were concerned. However, the market did react once the RBI's detailed policy document, or rather the policy minutes, were released, which was in the third quarter of April. The reason for that was that in the minutes, there were some what the market deemed as hawkish comments made, where there were reasons cited from possible higher inflation because of GST and 7th pay commission, higher commodity prices were mentioned, and in fact there was some commentary saying that is there a case for a preemptive rate hike. Now clearly this is something that the markets found on the hawkish side, although there was also parallel commentary saying that inflation might actually surprise on the downside, which has been the case between December and March. If you actually look at the last 4 readings of CPI inflation, every time consumer price headline inflation has come at par or lower than market expectations, and core inflation has actually been moderating. So there were some comments regarding that also in the minutes, but the message that the market broadly took from the minutes was that the RBI continues to look at inflation very, very closely, and given these comments of the possibility of preemptive rate hikes even before inflation has started hurting, meant that the markets became much more guarded. And hence, in the second half of the month of April, you saw yields harden up by between 10 to 15 basis points, depending on which segment of the market you were operating in. Obviously, when the RBI has increased the reverse repo rate from 5.75 to 6% also, the extreme short end, which is 91-day T-bills, 1-year T-bill yields, CP and CD yields also saw an uptick of 10 to 15 basis points, but that was more of a healthy correction in the sense that, these are assets in which liquid and ultra short term funds deploy their monies, and if the carry on these assets increases by 10 to 15 basis points, it is ultimately going to help investors, because any which ways the duration impact of these yield increases is very, very minuscule. So net for the month of April, what played out was a reasonably placid range bound first half, followed by the minutes of RBI causing some amount of negative sentiments in the market, which meant that yields on a net basis increased by 10 to 15 basis points. Now, if we walk through and look through the entire thesis or basis on which the RBI presented its policy and also the minutes, the central piece is obviously inflation. And let's just look at what the RBI is looking at and what might happen in terms of inflation projection going forward. Now, as far as the commodity price rally is concerned, we all have seen that after having witnessed a sharp rally between September and March, commodity prices have since stabilized. In fact, oil prices, which is per se the largest commodity globally and also the most important commodity as far as Indian inflation is concerned, has come down significantly from the 55-60 range to a 40-45 range as we speak. And even if there is a moderate increase from here on, we are very, very comfortably placed as far as oil prices are concerned, and hence as far as the inflation impact of that is concerned. Other commodities also, like I said, ferrous and non-ferrous metals, while prices are lower than where they were, higher than where they were same time last year, the increase or the pace of increase that we saw between September and March is already behind us, and prices have started stabilizing. The other two things, which is the 7th Pay Commission housing rent allowance impact and the impact of GST, clearly there are mixed views as far as the market is concerned. In fact, the government also has come and reiterated that GST might actually not be inflationary as is perceived to be, for the simple reason that a lot of these tax changes that had to happen, especially in the service tax side, etc., have already happened in terms of increases. Second, whatever moderate increase will happen from here on may actually get netted off if you look at the benefits that manufacturers and service providers will get from a taxation perspective in the GST regime. That apart, the 7th Pay Commission impact, as long as it is one time and transitory, I think the impact will not last for very long, and it is only if it happens during a time where aggregate demand conditions are very strong, where wage pressures are rising, where you see momentum both in rural and urban wage pressure, that it could have a second or third degree impact. As things stand today, that does not seem to be the base case. So while one might concur and say that RBI needs to watch at these factors very closely, at the same time one also gets a sense that most of these factors will not cause the kind of inflationary pressures that we are currently worried about. In line with this thought, and given the fact that over the next 5 to 6 months we will get more clarity, the market will continue to remain range bound. You could possibly say that the 10-year would remain range bound in a range of 6.60 to 7%. The new 10-year benchmark is likely to come in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and we might see that coming in a range of 6.80 to 6.85, which is again in a range that we just mentioned. The shorter end will remain well anchored. liquidity conditions have moderated a bit because RBI has conducted MSS of 1 lakh crores. But even after that, the surplus liquidity in the system is close to 4 lakh crores. So the shorter end will remain well anchored. At the longer end of the yield curve, investors will continue to demand some amount of premium, as they have been doing since the last 2-3 months, because there is no near-term visibility of a rate cut. And till the time you get clarity in terms of the inflation trajectory, it will be at least another next 4 to 5 months. So you might expect a status quo from RBI over the next 4 to 6 months till the time this clarity comes, and you might expect range-bound markets till such clarity emerges. In the meantime, most of the investors need to continue to look at accrual as the major source of the overall returns that products would generate. Accrual and the steepness of the yield curve are two avenues which will generate returns for investors going forward, and hence over the next 6 to 12 months, most of the incremental allocations need to happen in the neutral duration space of 2 to 5 years, whether you are looking at short-term bond fund kind of investments or whether you're looking at accrual products. These are the combination of products which could define a majority of your incremental investments. We still don't take a 0-1 call on duration products for many reasons, part of which being that we continue to believe that inflation has surprised on the downside in the last few months. We will continue to see inflation below the 4% mark between April to June, and by the time July comes, we will have a much clearer picture on monsoons, and hence that will also be a question that gets answered during that time as far as what could be the inflationary impact. As such, wage pressures remain weak. Aggregate demand, although it has started improving of late, still does not lead to too much of inflationary pressure in our minds. So we continue to see a status quo as far as policy is concerned, incremental allocation possibly more on the accrual side in the 2 to 5 year duration frame, and a 80-20 kind of an allocation by investors in accrual versus duration products going forward. Thanks for a patient hearing. We will connect with you next month and give you a fresh update for the month of May. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.